Hey y'all. Sorry, day two of doing this, and today the place where you put the title of your video decided it was gonna do the purple color block thing. I mean, I love purple, I really do. I have no idea what's going on, but you know what? I'm not gonna be bothered. So, if this is your first time ever joining, I'm Catherine with Yoked, where we're teaching couples that godly marriages start before the ring. And I just got home. We said that we were going to do a live at 6 o'clock today. We were trying to do lives at 6 o'clock every day. Um, I have a job where I actually have to wear pants and leave my house now. So I forgot that I had a meeting tonight at, we had a membership meeting from 6 to 7. And I've been home 3 minutes and had to jump on here. Hubby is actually out networking with some people, so he may show up while we're still doing this. If not, I'll just tell you all of my horror stories. So actually, it was funny because I'm in a couple of different Facebook groups with, married people and single women, and, just kind of listening to all the different conversations that happen and things that, go on in the dating world. And one lady, she had posted that she had these guys basically approaching her online on her, dating profile. Hey, Danielle, approaching her on her dating profile and, kind of reaching out to her. And when she, politely declined, they would, cuss her out and say all kinds of just crazy, creepy stuff to her. And people were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. And then some people were like, yeah, that's happened to me too. Um, and I was just kind of laughing. I was like, that's funny because we were actually going to come on tonight and talk about our experiences with online dating and how that whole thing, kind of played out for us while, when we met each other. So if you missed the live last night, we were talking about how we met each other online. I was looking for someone to, kind of establish a friendship with because my belief was the person I married needed to be my best friend. Like that was a non-negotiable for me. So I wanted to make sure that I met someone and cultivated that friendship in enough time to, date and get married because, of course I had a timeline. We all have a timeline. Um, so, and he was on there just kind of looking for a listening ear. He kind of, lost himself in his marriage. And when he was separated, realized that he was kind of, on an island by himself. And he, just had this desire to actually have friendships. So we met online, but before we met each other, of course, we met the other like frogs and ugly fish in the sea. Speaking of fish, so there's a bunch of different online dating sites that you can use. I searched. He and I met on Black Planet. I don't even know if that if that site still exists anymore. That tells you how long it's been. It probably does. But we met on Black Planet. I had been on Match.com. I hopped on Christian Mingle real quick and got off of there because, yeah, I'll talk about that in a second. I got on Plenty of Fish, and Plenty of Fish was and is, I think, still a free site where just kind of anybody can get on there. And when I was on that site, I swear I met some of the craziest people like ever that you could possibly meet. Like Plenty of Fish was actually scary. There was one guy I met on there, and it was funny. He's one of my high school classmates, so I had known him for a long, long time. And we ran into each other on the site, and it was like, I was like, what are you doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? And, we kind of joked around for a little while, and it's like, let's never speak of this again. Don't ever tell anybody this happened. So, so he was like the calmest, sanest, and like safest interaction that I had on that site. But y'all, I talked to someone on that site. The very first conversation we had, he told me about how much money he had, all of the different vehicles he had, this big house he had, and he wanted me to come to his house and spend the weekend with him. And it was literally the first conversation that we had. And I was like, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope nobody falls for this and that nobody is flattered by, what he's saying, because my initial reaction was, if I go see this person, I'm going to disappear. Like, I'm going to go into his house and no one's ever going to see me again. Like, I was honestly terrified of what would happen if I, took him up on his invitation, to go to his house. There were guys coming out of the woodworks who were just, I can appreciate your candor and your honesty, that just came straight out the gate, was like, let's hook up, let's do this. Oh, he's home. And I was just like, hi, can, we have a conversation first? And they were just like, let's just get to it. So at least for me, the Plenty of Fish site was very much kind of like the hookup spot. Jermaine was talking last night about Black Planet was kind of known as the place where people go to just kind of hook up and get it on. I'm so old. Like, people went to hook up. Plenty of Fish was definitely the hookup spot. Like, if you were not trying to just get naked, no questions asked, get on Plenty of Fish. I've heard of people who have met decent people on Plenty of Fish, but personally for me, I was absolutely terrified. I was just like, no, I can't be on here anymore. And even like in my short stint on Christian Mingle, there were still guys there that were just like, hey, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, let's hook up. And I'm like, that's not what this is supposed to be about. Hi, honey. They know you're here. He's trying to sneak into the house, and you've totally heard him. So yeah, even with Christian Mingle, there were people on there that were just kind of like, I'm just here to, hit it and quit it. I am so old, y'all. Please stop me with these phrases. He's laughing at me. I'm so old. What? That's the thing. Okay, I won't say it anymore. Come over here and save me from myself. So, Match.com, eHarmony, those are pretty cool sites. Do you have any horror stories about online dating that you'd love to share with our audience? I told them about the guy who tried to murder me if I came to his house. Oh. Hold on, sorry y'all, let me adjust for a second. There he is.
Hello.
So I told them I was talking about Plenty of Fish and my terrifying experiences on there.
I didn't have any terrifying experiences, but I did have just uncomfortable experiences where, people were trying to hook up and ask for phone numbers and all types of personal information, like on the first conversation. Like, it just was not very pleasant. So I ran fast.
Well, I would imagine if like you had been on there specifically looking for someone to hook up with, that would have been a good thing, because they were just like, no, I'm just saying, like, yeah. Because they were kind of, like, hey, how you doing? It's like, hey, come over. Like, if that's what you were looking for, yeah, that would have, worked out.
Yeah, if that was what I was looking for, but it was not.
So I wanted to, because I've had lots and lots of conversations, like, people do ask, can you meet anybody online? Can you meet somebody who's going to be in a good relationship and not, murder you as soon as you turn around? They're out there. I mean, he's not out there, but he was at one point. People are out there that are, good people, and, you can actually make connections online. I think definitely that, being online, being in social media really shrinks the world down. It makes the world much, much smaller. A lot of times people are kind of like in their city And it's like, I can't meet anybody in my city. I'm never going to meet a person. It's like, well, there's literally 7 billion other people on this planet. You know, there's a chance you're going to meet somebody. You might have to go outside of your immediate circle to do it, but you can meet somebody. So I guess we want to talk a little bit about, I guess, like the pros and cons of online dating and like the red flags and things to watch out for. Oh my gosh, I just remembered another one. I have so many horror stories. So yeah, the pros of it, I think, are that you can, you know, broaden your horizons, broaden your sphere of influence, I guess. You'll probably meet people that you never thought you would meet before. Different cultures, different experiences. I know my friend Danielle has been traveling a lot more, you know, meeting people who are travelers and like to go to different cities, you know, being able to do things like that. What else?
One of the biggest things for me was control, like control of the situation. Because if I didn't want to talk to somebody anymore, it was very easy to block them, or very easy to just get lost again and lose them. But it was also good because, you know, with that whole control thing, I can dictate what I want to talk about, and I can dictate what I want to show this person. And I have a lot more control, I feel, over my first impression. Sometimes when you meet people in person, sometimes that spontaneous meeting, you don't always know what to say or what to do or how to put your best foot forward. So when you meet someone online, you have a lot more control over that first impression and the impression you want to give.
Yeah. I was thinking about one of my Facebook friends. I actually met him on one of those dating sites. I don't remember which one it was. And I think it was actually like the last online person I talked to before you. This was a guy, like, we had a lot in common. We had, you know, very similar interests. On paper, it was like, wow, this has the potential to be great. And then I met him in real life and I was like, oh no, this is not what I want. Hey cousin, I was like, this is not what I want at all. Like, you're such a nice person and you're so interesting and exciting, but no, like and I mean, it's, you know, nothing against him. You know, he's not an unattractive person. It was just, there was no physical attraction there. And I wasn't in it for the physical attraction. It was just like the mental attraction and the physical attraction was like, there was nothing there. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we're still, you know, social friends. You know, we speak if we see each other, but it was not like a connection, which was just hilarious. The other thing that I enjoyed, like everybody talks about having receipts. Like, I need receipts. It's my urban slang, you know.
Okay. All right. Receipts.
So what I enjoyed about talking to guys online was it was easier for me to kind of keep track of what they were saying and what was going on in the conversation. Because anyone who knows me in real life, you know, I have the attention span of a toddler. Like, you're going to tell me something and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm off, like completely off topic. I really enjoyed that aspect of online dating because if I was talking to somebody and he said, oh yeah, well, I do this for a living. And I'm like, that's not what you said last week. I can scroll back in the conversation and see exactly what he told me. And I did do that to him. Like, I legit, because he would say things and I'm like, I need to make sure he's telling me the same story. So
I didn't know you did that.
Yeah. Now he knows I did that.
Well, it's no big deal. I was telling the truth.
Yes, you were telling the truth.
Okay.
Some people weren't. And it was easy for me to, you know, kind of cut them off and be like, okay, if you're going to lie to me about little things, when it comes to something big, I'm not going to be able to trust you. And with that alone, there's no point in me investing my time into someone that I can't trust, with the big things that they're going to lie about the little things. Mm-hmm. So that was important to me. His conversation was so good that I was like, I want to take this offline. Like, I need you to call me.
Okay. Yep. And another advantage for me, or for guys who like efficiency, you can talk to multiple women at the same time. You can multiply your efforts, and nobody knows what's going on. You can literally have 15 different conversations going on at the same time, and nobody knows you're talking to the other one unless they know each other and are exchanging notes. Whereas if you meet somebody out in public, you can really only talk to one person at a time. So
I'm laughing because it's true.
so there's that advantage.
So, and that would also be a disadvantage on our end, because he can talk to 15 different women at the same time and have all these conversations, and I'll never know unless it's in public, and then I meet that person and we know each other.
Basically. And as long as I'm telling the truth, there's no story to keep up with but my own. Because I'm telling the truth to all of them.
Okay, just disclaimer. Disclaimer. If anything ever happens to him, I'm getting a cat. I'm not doing this again. I'm telling you, I'm not doing this again. Okay. So, I mean, there's advantages to online dating. One thing I really liked also was the fact that you could talk to someone and get to know them and still kind of have your guard up. I think for women especially, when we talk to guys online, we're very quick to give them our phone numbers, which can give them access to us that we may not want them to have right away until we get a chance to know them. Being online still provides a level of anonymity where, as he was saying earlier, you can tell them only as much as you really want them to know about you. And until you're comfortable in that situation or with, that relationship, you don't have to really divulge a lot of information. You can still just be kind of surface level. And I think that's really important just as a safety thing. If I meet you and we're exchanging numbers in public, you've got my phone number, you know what I look like, you see what kind of car I get in, you've seen my car tags. It's very easy to find out a lot of information about me. And, not being scary about it, but there are dangerous people out there who can find information and do things, to harm you or, scare you. And like my cousin is on watching, she works at a correctional facility, right? She said, yeah, give me 50. Girl, you right. You ain't never lied. My cousin works at a correctional institution. And I know that, for female officers and people who work in those situations, that's a real threat. That is a real, potential problem. If, an inmate or someone can find out information about you, they can use that against you. So not to be, doom and gloom about it, but that's something that we really have to consider, especially in the age of, technology and how easily we can, get to information and get access to people. That's something to consider.
Yep.
So, I guess the cons of it, I think the same situation when you said that you can tell a woman only what you want her to know about you. Mm-hmm. If you missed the live yesterday, I talked about how I dated a guy who was married, and I didn't know that he was married. Getting to know him, he only told me the information that he wanted me to know. And because it wasn't a completely online situation, like I met him online and we quickly took it offline. Because we met in real life so quickly, I didn't have the time or the information to really look into who he was. Like, there's no point in front. Oh my gosh, why do I keep saying old people words? there's my 40 is showing.
Okay.
When getting to know him, we women, we're better than paid detectives. Like, if there's something we want to know, we will find that information out. But I didn't, take the time to get to know him. So when he told me that he was divorced and he was actually separated, I believe that he was divorced, went forward in that relationship only to find out that he was still legally married. And what happened was, he and I had gotten into an argument, and he said something about my wife. And I said, "Don't you mean your ex-wife?" And he was like, "Well, in my mind, I've been divorced for 3 years." And I'm like, "In reality, you still married, dude. Like, what?" And that's how I found out, because he slipped up and said something that he had been hiding from me the entire time. And if I had taken the time to, really get to know him and find out more about him, I may have been able to avoid that situation. But I, kind of ignored red flags and just was like, okay, it's a dude. He seems all right. Let's see where this goes, and just kind of rushed into that situation, which is, when we were talking about it last night, he was separated when we met. So when he told me that, I was just like, no, we're not doing that again. You're real nice to look at, but no, I'm not doing it. So we actually, there was several months before we even spoke to each other again. Hey, Carolyn. Because I didn't want to, get into a situation where, I knew what was going on in his life and I knew why he was separated, but separated is still married. And I didn't want to be in the middle of anything where he could potentially go back to his wife, because if he chose to, try to save his marriage, I'm not going to stand in the way of that. Your covenant was with her. That was for you to work out. And I was just like, well, I'm going to be over here, eating cake and ice cream and crying in my ice cream. So, so what else? What other cons, I guess?
One of the major cons from my perspective is that online, there's way too much room for interpretation and to fill in blanks, because when you meet somebody online, you're automatically already starting to fill in who they are and what parts of them look like that are not on the pictures, if they have pictures, and what their personality is like, what they sound like. You're already building up this image in your brain, and as you get to know them, as they reveal themselves to you, you may be setting yourself up for failure or disappointment, because you've built up this image of who this person is based on a few sentences in a profile, and then in a bio, and then some pictures that they've chosen to show people, and then you fill in the rest.
Yeah.
And then as they reveal themselves to you, you're solely saying to yourself, well, that's not who I thought they were, but okay, we'll go along with it. And you're constantly doing that along the way.
Yep.
And in essence, you could be settling for something or someone that you really don't want.
Right. Yeah, I did that, I think, a lot. I did it enough that I had to go to therapy, so.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
I'm just being honest.
Nowadays, I think it's pretty hard to get away with not having at least one picture on a, social media website. Mm-hmm. So if you don't at least have one picture, even if it's from 20 years ago, if you don't have at least one picture, nobody really knows. Nobody's really going to engage with you that deeply.
And Google image search is a good thing. The person that I mentioned earlier, she was saying that, I think her first week of online dating, she got catfished. Oh. And the guy had stolen somebody's, a model's picture and used it as his profile. Mm-hmm. And she Googled the image, but he did something wrong and his actual profile picture popped up. So he tried to tell her that he had been hacked. And so she busted him and was like, no, I know whose picture you stole. And he cussed her out and blocked her and all this other stuff. But, even with that, Google image search is your friend.
Yeah.
You can look and see if, the person is real, or if they've stolen someone's image and it doesn't match up with what they've been telling you. I was trying to think of like another con. Well, I guess kind of going along with what you said, that when you kind of build them up, when you get kind of like snippets of what you think you might want, and you say, okay, well, these 10 things are not what I want, and these are bad, but this one thing is okay. I think I'm gonna make it work. Not only are you settling, but as Christian women and men who are dating, you could be putting yourself on a path and in a situation that God really doesn't have for you. You're settling for what you think is good, what you think is going to fulfill whatever need you have in the moment. And it's very easy to put the idols of relationship and companionship and marriage in front of God, so that you're chasing after those things, and God is no longer in this situation. And because he's no longer in the situation, there's no, like, I think real spiritual protection there anymore, because you're going outside of his will and outside of what he has for you, and you're putting yourself in, spiritual and mental and emotional and sometimes physical danger, because you're pursuing something that is not of God, because you've forgotten to seek God in all things. So yeah, I dealt with that a lot. And, he laughed because, and I mean, I can laugh about it now, but all of the stuff that happened, like I was, pursuing all these different guys because I just really wanted to be married, and relationships, like, they didn't work out. And I understand now that they didn't work out because they weren't supposed to work out. But at the time, I took the failure of the relationship personally, and I took it as there was something wrong with me. And why can't I do anything right? First of all, not recognizing God's protection of me in those situations. But it wreaked such mental and emotional havoc on me that I ended up having to go to therapy, because I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong in these relationships, and what was I doing that made these relationships continue to fail. And that was because, as I look back on it now, it was because I was putting, the idol of marriage before who I am in Christ. So, as you're, going through the dating process, whether it be online or offline, just be, really careful about what you're pursuing and why you're pursuing it. So, did you want to say anything else?
I don't think so.
Oh, sorry. I'm just watching the time, and I've been laughing and kind of rambling for like half an hour. I know y'all got stuff to do. I'm not gonna keep you here all night. So, but yeah, I think we can do 6:00 tomorrow. What day is it? Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Yeah, we should be able to do 6:00 tomorrow. I don't even remember what we're talking about tomorrow.
We'll figure that out.
Oh, our first date. Yes.
Oh.
Tomorrow is our first date, and how I ended up buying my way into a second date. That's going to be a fun one. So anyway, thanks y'all for watching and listening to us ramble. If you have any questions, just, hit us up in the comments. If you're watching this on replay, let us know, and we will see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Love ya. Bye.
Bye.